Hello and welcome back to Azure Terraformer. I know it's been a while, but it has been a wild couple of months for me personally. The end of last year was quite busy. Kicked off the new year with a conference that I spoke at called Code Mash up in Sandusky, Ohio, and have just been kind of hit with a whole bunch of different personal things. But once you guys know, I'm back at it and, of course, here to stay. I did launch a new Udemy course, which takes some of my internet ramblings and formulates them in a somewhat more cohesive way. As you know, this YouTube channel is more or less just what's ever in my head. I just get it out on video and publish it out on the internet for all you friendly internet strangers, talking about Azure, Terraform, automation, software development, all the things. So the Udemy course is brand new. It's about 8.5 hours. And it's focused on the absolute beginner and trying to help that person pick up Terraform and pick up Terraforming Azure right off the bat. So it's completely hands-on, and I start from ground zero and take you up through all of the HCL gymnastics, as well as get you started on a sound footing with the Azure platform using Terraform. So link in the comments below. Go check it out. Drop some stars on me. Would really appreciate that. But I will continue to be making content here on YouTube. But again, YouTube is more of like a creative outlet for me, just to extract, what's in my brain and share it with you as quickly as I possibly can. Whereas Udemy is a bit more structured and a bit more focused on specific learning areas. So that being said, I do want to give a shout out to the channel members that we have. I really enjoy engaging with all you guys on the Azure Terraformer Discord. So definitely hop on there if you're a member, if you're new. We do have one new member, that is Lulumil Gaji. I hope I got that right. If I didn't, please let me know on Discord and beat me up. But really appreciate your support. Thanks for becoming a member. And I apologize for this long overdue shout out. But man, we've had members on this channel for quite a long time. Just want to take a moment to thank all of those members. Romario Rodriguez, locking in 16 months of membership. Thank you so much, Romario. Richard Wong, my friend over in Singapore. Hopefully I'll get to see you in Hashi Days this year, because there is a Hashi Days Singapore. I submitted to the call for presenters, so hopefully I'll be making it out there to Singapore. And you know what's going to be in my carry-on luggage, my friend Richard. You know what's going to be in there, okay? So hopefully we'll get to finally put faces to names, meet in person. Andrew Webster, thank you so much for 12 months of membership. Gosh, thank you so much, man. And really appreciate you engaging on the Azure Terraformer Discord and helping all those other Azure Terraformers out there. Mark Mulvaney, thank you so much. 6 months of membership, really appreciate it. Eric Brookman, thank you so much for your membership. 5 months of membership. The Scrambler, I don't know who you are in real life, but I know you're on the Azure Terraformer Discord, and it's great to engage with you on there. 7 months of membership. Thank you so much. Charles Ross, locking in 4 months of membership. Thank you so much, Charles. Fun fact, Charles is my middle name. Abdul Wajid, the only code ninja that we got still in the program. Abdul, looking forward to more pull requests from you. It was great working with you on your last PR. Keep them coming, man. And if you're not familiar with the Code Ninja program, it's a place where you can tap into my code reviews, where I look at your pull requests, give you some tips and guidance in context on the projects that you're working on. Just sign up as a member, become a Code Ninja, and start dropping me some PRs, and you'll get access to my code reviews. Anyways, thank you guys so much for your continued membership and your continued support of the channel. It really helps out a lot. Anyways, so for today, we are going to continue mission on the LEAP journey. It's been a while. I think last topic we addressed was Open API specification, not to be confused with OpenAI, but Open API, or formerly known as Swagger. Personally, I kind of like the old name Swagger. It just kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit more. But this time we're talking Azure Client Tools, going back to the basics. Actually, this is a great topic for somebody new to Azure, because I kind of lay out all the different client tools and how they interact with Azure, including probably the most popular client tool of them all, the Azure portal. So check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments as well. And make sure to pop on Azure Terraformer Discord and continue the conversation. Without further ado, here we go. So over here we have ARM. Yoink. There we go. So Azure has a REST API that sits in front of our backend that basically is responsible for provisioning all the things that people want to do on Azure. So anytime you want a virtual machine, you send a request to this ARM REST API and it creates a virtual machine for you, just like that. And you can send that request to that REST API any way you want. And we at Microsoft try and, make give you as many options as possible, because we're like Amazon.com, right? Or Walmart.com. Like, we want to make it super, super, super easy for you to spend money with us. So we provide you lots of different ways that you can spend money for us. How do you spend money for us? You submit a request to our REST API and ask for a virtual machine. Boom. You just bought something. It's going to be at your house in 2.5 days. No, it's going to be in your Azure subscription in like 10 minutes. So it is in our best interest as a company to make it ridiculously easy, however you want to shop with us, to shop with us, to buy VMs and Cosmos DBs and virtual networks and all the things. And so the Azure portal is the most famous way of interacting with this REST API. Every time you go to the Azure portal, you log in, like anytime you navigate around in there, it's making dozens of REST API calls to go retrieve information from the ARM REST API to populate the GUI, right? And every time you say create VM, it's going to call the REST API and submit that. Now, a lot of times the GUI, this portal experience, is going to generate an ARM template. And through like the wizard windows that you see, where you're like, I don't know if you've ever provisioned anything on Azure, but there's like these step-by-step wizards where you fill out a bunch of forms and like, where's my virtual network? How many, VMs do I want, et cetera. And at the end, it's like create with the big blue button, and you smash that. Right next to that big blue button, it's like export the template, because that big blue create button is basically going to submit an ARM template to the REST API. So you're right. The ARM template is a way of kind of batching up a bunch of individual REST API calls in a descriptive way, like in a declarative way. Like, we can create a JSON document that describes what we want provisioned out in Azure, and we can send that one document out to Azure, and it'll just process that document and make that environment. That's called infrastructure as code, right? And the ARM REST API absolutely supports that. But the ARM REST API also supports the Azure CLI, which consequently ARM deployments are done through the Azure CLI. But the Azure CLI you can use to do all the things that you can do in an ARM template. If you want to create a VM, there's an Azure CLI command to go create a VM. You don't have to use an ARM template. And the way that Azure CLI, the command line interface, creates that VM is it calls an individual REST endpoint to create a VM. Same with PowerShell. PowerShell commandlet does the same thing, except it's got a PowerShell interface for people that are typing PowerShell, versus Azure CLI, people are typing Azure CLI commands. It's just, both of them are command line interfaces, but they are. It's like strawberry or vanilla. Like, which do you like? What's your favorite flavor? ARM templates, again, are you declare what you want provisioned, and then you pass it to the Azure CLI and say, hey Azure CLI, I only want to execute you one time using the deploy command, and here's all the stuff I want you to deploy for me in this one big fat template.
Bicep is a layer on top of ARM because the feedback to Microsoft was, man, this ARM template stuff is really verbose. It's very difficult to read. It's really hard to like code in because it's JSON. Like who codes in JSON? JSON's not a coding language. It's a document language, right? It's literally a file format. So, writing, these like function calls and things like that are very cumbersome inside of an ARM template. So Bicep basically creates more of a functional language that makes it much more concise and easier to um, declare resources that you want to provision. Bicep ultimately compiles down into an ARM template. I mean, there's no wizardry. Like Bicep's literally just, it's like the, what is that? Rosetta Stone, right? That they dug up in ancient Egypt or something. And it like literally, it's just like a one-to-one mapping. Like, okay, we got this thing in Bicep. Let's just translate it directly into ARM. So ultimately, if you write a Bicep template, that thing is going to convert into an ARM template and then get sent to the Azure REST API. Where Terraform sits, Terraform has a Terraform CLI, and where you run Terraform plan, you run Terraform apply, and you describe your infrastructure in HashiCorp configuration language, which is kind of like the Bicep functional language. It's just a lightweight functional language that lets you declare stuff and do a bunch of fancy coding to concisely define what you're doing. The Terraform CLI uses an extension model so that you can use the Azure RM provider, or you can use the AWS provider, or the Google Cloud provider, or the IBM Cloud provider, or the Oracle Cloud provider. I could go on. But basically, the same, like you write in the same language, you just use a different provider, and you can use Terraform to provision to any cloud that you want.